Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Let me ask you something. What if I told you that silence is the loudest thing your ex has ever heard? What if, right now, while you're living your life, moving forward and focusing on yourself, they're sitting there, watching, yet saying nothing? They could reach out, they could text, they could call, but they don't. Instead, they linger in the background, quietly observing, trying to feel connected to you without actually having to face you. It doesn't make sense at first. If they truly didn't care, why are they still watching? If they've moved on, why are they still drawn to your world? But here's what most people don't realize. Silence doesn't just create distance, it creates curiosity, and curiosity is powerful. The more they wonder, the more they think. The more they think, the more they feel. And feelings bring them right back to the thing they've been avoiding. You. Your silence has done something they never expected. It's made them uncertain. When you were reaching out, checking in, and making an effort, they had control. They could predict your moves. They could anticipate your emotions. And they knew they still had access to your energy. But the moment you stopped, everything shifted. Now they don't know where they stand. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know if they still matter. And that unknown, it's haunting them. They scroll through your posts, replay your stories, check to see if you've been online, all while refusing to make a move. They're stuck between ego and desire, torn between pride and the fear of rejection. Because reaching out would mean admitting something they might not be ready to face. That losing you wasn't just an event, it was a mistake. The longer you stay silent, the deeper this feeling grows. It forces them to sit with their choices, to confront the reality of your absence, to feel the weight of what it truly means to no longer have you. This isn't about games or manipulation. It's about power, the kind of power that comes from knowing your worth, from refusing to chase, from letting your absence speak for itself. So today, we're diving deep into the psychological reasons why your ex is watching but never reaching out. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's going on in their mind, and more importantly, how to use silence as your greatest strength. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence speaks louder than words. Let's begin. Number 1, they expected you to chase them. They thought that sooner or later you'd give in, break the silence, and prove that you still cared. It wasn't arrogance, it was habit. Every time before, they had the comfort of knowing you would reach out, that your heart was still open, that they still had a place in your world. But this time, something changed. You didn't follow the script they had in mind. Instead of searching for them, you disappeared. Instead of clinging, you let go. And that silence, it unsettled them in a way they never saw coming. At first, they dismissed it. They told themselves you were just playing a game, trying to make them miss you. They believed it was only a matter of time before you cracked, before you caved under the weight of your own emotions and reached out. But as days turned into weeks, something shifted. They started checking your social media, expecting to see hints of sadness, pain, or regret. Maybe a cryptic post, a sad song, a late-night status that suggested you were thinking about them. But nothing came. No signs of suffering, no breadcrumbs leading back to them, just silence. And that silence started to get under their skin. They thought you needed them more than they needed you. They believed that your emotions were predictable, that your love was a safety net they could fall back on whenever they wanted. But now, they're forced to question everything. Were they wrong about you? Were they wrong about your feelings? If you've moved on so easily, Did they ever matter as much as they thought? These doubts creep into their mind, twisting their confidence into something fragile, something uncertain. Silence is powerful because it turns the tables without a single word. It makes people second-guess themselves. It forces them to confront the reality that they are no longer a priority in your life. And the irony? The very thing they expected from you, the reassurance, the validation, the desperate attempt to reconnect, is now what they crave from you. They find themselves watching, waiting, searching for any sign that they still matter. But reaching out, that would mean admitting defeat. It would mean acknowledging that they misjudged you, that they underestimated your strength. And that's a hard pill to swallow. They are watching because they don't have the answers they expected. They don't understand how you're standing so still in the storm they thought would break you. They won't reach out because doing so would mean surrendering the illusion of control they thought they had. But deep down, they feel the shift. They feel the loss. And that feeling is only growing stronger. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am no longer predictable. Number 2, they're battling their ego. Pride is a dangerous thing. Even if your ex wants to reach out, their ego won't let them. To them, sending that message, making that call, or breaking the silence first feels like a loss. It feels like surrender. And that's something their pride refuses to allow. They would rather sit in discomfort, watching from a distance, than admit, even to themselves, that they still care. They tell themselves stories to justify their silence. I don't need to reach out. If they really cared, they'd contact me first. I'm better off without them. But despite these justifications, their actions tell a different story. They check your profile, scroll through old photos, and replay past conversations in their head. They overanalyze everything you post, searching for hidden messages, clues, or signs that you're thinking about them too. And the worst part? Every time they look, they're met with silence. No answers, no breadcrumbs, just a void they don't know how to fill. Ego thrives on control. It thrives on the belief that it is in charge, that it is untouchable. But silence shatters that illusion. It forces your ex to face a reality they weren't prepared for, the reality that you are no longer predictable. They expected you to reach out, to break the silence, to make things easy for them. And when you didn't, something shifted inside them. Confusion replaced certainty. Doubt replaced confidence. They began to wonder, are they really over me? Why aren't they reacting? Did I misjudge everything? This battle between their ego and their emotions keeps them trapped in limbo. They want to reach out, but their pride tells them they shouldn't. They want closure, but their ego convinces them that seeking it would be weak. They want to know if you still care, but admitting that would mean accepting that they don't have the power in this situation anymore. And that is something they are not ready to do. Instead, they resort to passive actions. They'll watch your stories like an old photo, or even show up in places they know you'll be. They're hoping you'll notice, that you'll take the hint and make the first move. But when you don't, when you keep living, keep growing, keep staying silent, that's when their frustration builds. They want control over the situation, but they don't have it. And every moment they spend watching you without acting on their emotions eats away at them a little more. Your silence forces them to wrestle with themselves in a way they never had to before. It makes them question their choices, their pride, and their ability to truly let go. And that battle is exhausting. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I let their ego battle itself. Number 3, they don't want to face your growth. One of the hardest things for an ex to witness is your evolution. especially if they expected you to stay broken. They thought you would be stuck, waiting, drowning in sadness over them. But instead, you're rising, you're healing, you're moving forward, and they don't know how to handle it. This is why they're watching. They need to know where you stand, but they can't bring themselves to face the reality that you're doing just fine, maybe even better, without them. There's a part of them that wants to believe they still have an effect on you, that their absence has left a mark you can't erase. But every time they check in, they don't see the sadness they expected. They don't see desperation. They don't see someone waiting by the phone. They see you, thriving, growing, becoming a stronger version of yourself. And that's a hard pill to swallow. They stay silent because deep down, they fear what reaching out might reveal. What if they text you and you take hours, maybe even days to respond? What if you don't respond at all? What if you've truly moved on and they're just a chapter in your past? Their ego can't handle the thought of being irrelevant, so they avoid putting themselves in a position where they might have to face that truth. Watching from a distance allows them to stay in denial. As long as they don't hear you say the words, "I don't need you anymore," they can cling to the illusion that maybe, just maybe, you still do. It gives them a sense of control, even if that control is nothing but an illusion. They convince themselves that their silence is their choice, when, in reality, it's their fear. And yet, they keep coming back. They can't help but check. They see your progress, your confidence, your new energy, and it makes them question everything. Were they always this strong? Did I make a mistake? Was I holding them back? These thoughts creep in, slowly replacing the certainty they once had about leaving you behind. They might not reach out, but that doesn't mean they're unaffected. Growth is powerful. It's intimidating. It forces people to reflect on their own stagnation, their own mistakes, their own shortcomings. Seeing you flourish without them makes them realize that they weren't as essential to your life as they once believed. And that realization stings. If they do reach out, it won't be because they're happy for you. It'll be because they want to see if they still have a place in your life. They'll test the waters, looking for signs that they still matter. But here's the truth. They had their chance. They had access to you, your love, your presence, and they took it for granted. Your growth isn't about them, it's about you. The best response to their silent watching: keep going, keep rising, keep proving to yourself that you were never meant to stay small for the sake of someone who couldn't appreciate you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am becoming someone they can no longer reach. Number 4, they feel guilt, but not enough to fix things. Guilt is a strange thing. It lingers in the back of the mind, whispering reminders of things left unsaid, mistakes made, and people hurt. Your ex feels it, even if they'll never admit it. They think about the times they could have treated you better, the ways they should have been more present, the love they took for granted. But guilt alone doesn't make people take action. It doesn't always lead to an apology, closure, or change. Sometimes it just makes them watch from a distance. Instead of facing you, instead of owning up to what they did, they do the easiest thing: observe. They check your stories, scroll through your posts, and maybe even revisit old conversations. They're not watching because they plan to fix things. They're watching because they don't want to feel like the villain. As long as they can keep tabs on you, as long as they see you moving on without them, they can convince themselves that what they did wasn't that bad. But reaching out, that's a different level of accountability, and accountability requires effort. It requires them to be vulnerable, to admit they were wrong, to take responsibility for the pain they caused. And that is something many people aren't ready to do. It's easier to lurk in the background, hoping time will erase the weight of their actions. Some of them will even try to ease their guilt with breadcrumbs. Maybe they'll like a post, comment on something small, or send a meaningless message that says nothing at all. Not because they genuinely want to reconnect, but because they want to convince themselves that they're still a good person, that they didn't just walk away and never look back. But a like on a picture isn't an apology. A random check-in isn't closure. And a half-hearted message doesn't undo the damage they caused. Here's what you need to remember. Their guilt is not your responsibility. You don't have to carry the weight of their regret. You don't have to hold space for someone who didn't respect your heart when they had it. If they truly wanted to make things right, they wouldn't be silently watching. They would step up, acknowledge what they did, and prove through actions, not just words, that they've changed. But most won't. Because real accountability is uncomfortable. It forces them to face themselves in a way they'd rather avoid. They know they should apologize. They know they should have done better. But instead of fixing things, they choose silence. Not because they don't feel anything, but because facing you means facing the truth. And the truth is, they failed you, so let them watch. Let them sit with the weight of their own choices. You don't owe them a response, a reaction, or a space in your life. Their guilt is theirs to carry, not yours to fix. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am not responsible for their regret. Number 5. They're hoping you'll make it easy for them. Your ex is watching you because they want something from you. Reassurance, validation, a sign that you still care. But they don't want to be the one to break the silence. They want you to do the work. They want you to be the one who reaches out first, the one who makes it easy for them. Because if you do, they don't have to risk rejection. They don't have to confront their own emotions. They don't have to take responsibility for how things ended. This is why so many exes stay in the background. They lurk, they watch, they drop subtle hints, but they don't actually do anything real. Because the moment they send a message, they make themselves vulnerable. And that scares them. What if you don't respond? What if you've moved on? What if they don't get the reaction they were hoping for? To avoid those uncomfortable possibilities, they stay silent, hoping you'll crack first. And for many people, that strategy works. Because let's be honest, when you care about someone, it's tempting to reach out. You tell yourself, maybe they're too scared to text me first. Maybe they just need a little push. Maybe they're waiting for a sign. But here's the harsh reality. If someone truly cares, if they truly miss you, they will find the courage to step up. They will swallow their pride and reach out. They won't sit on the sidelines, waiting for you to do all the emotional labor. Your silence is not about punishing them. It's about teaching them that you are not someone who will always do the work for them. You are not someone who will make it easy for them to drift in and out of your life whenever they feel like it. If they want to be in your life, they need to prove it. But here's where things get interesting. When they realize you're not budging, that's when the panic starts to set in. The more time passes, the more they start to wonder, why haven't they reached out? Are they really over me? Have they met someone else? Your silence is now making them question their own value in your life. And that's exactly why it's so powerful. People often don't appreciate what they had until they feel the full weight of its absence. If you were always the one to check in, to smooth things over, to keep the connection alive, your ex got used to that. They expected it. They relied on it. But now, that safety net is gone. They're left with nothing but their own thoughts, their own emotions, and their own regrets. This is where you must stay strong, because the moment you break the silence, you hand them back the control. You give them exactly what they were waiting for, a free pass to slip back into your life without putting in any effort. They'll feel relieved, knowing they never had to do the hard part. And the cycle will continue. But when you stay silent, when you refuse to give them that easy way back in, that's when real change happens. That's when they realize that if they want you, they have to earn you. They have to step up, take accountability, and prove through actions, not just words, that they deserve another chance. This is why silence is an act of self-respect. It's not about revenge, not about manipulation. It's about setting a standard for how you deserve to be treated. You are not an option, a backup plan, or a source of easy validation. You are someone who requires effort, commitment, and respect. So let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them feel the void that your absence creates. If they truly want to come back into your life, they'll find a way. If they don't, then they were never worth your energy in the first place. Silence is not weakness, it's power. It forces people to reflect, to regret, and to realize what they lost. Your ex may be watching, but the question isn't why they won't reach out. The real question is, if they did, would you even care anymore? Let them wrestle with their own thoughts. Let them sit in their own silence. You have a life to live. If this video resonated with you, drop a "My silence is my power" in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because this is just the beginning of your transformation. Stay strong, stay silent, and watch the tables turn. See you in the next video.